It is required under section 67 that a electoral boundary committee be established immediately after a general election. This committee has not met since the establishment. The last time this committee met to deal with constituencies was prior to 2011. A committee met was prior to 2011, when we created then the South Central, St. Catherine, East Central, St. Catherine, and what have you, and Central St. James. It was prior to 2011. We met after that, but that was a recommendation from the Electoral Commission to realign constituents because of Mr. Fisher claimed then that some of these constituencies went over parish boundaries. Yes. And he could not prove in this committee, you were in the meeting also, could not prove in this committee that what he was recommended and the boundaries for those constituents, he couldn't prove the validity. Yes. So the committee ended then, no decision was taken because the recommendation that he wanted could not be substantiated by him or electoral committee. So the real meeting of a committee was prior to 2011. Because there's no reason to meet. The issue, as the Constitution says, it's supposed to meet minimum 4 years after the last boundary changes were done, or the maximum of 6 years. We have not looked at any constituent boundaries prior to 2011.
Madam, this is not a...
You may go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is not a contentious issue, you know. I just need it to be guided.
Absolutely not, Member Jackson.
Let me just say, I just need it to be guided, and as was indicated, this is the first time that the committee is being convened since since the Parliament came into being. And I just wanted to have that clarification, given that I am a designated member of the committee too. And secondly, for the purpose of continuity, because even though administrations change and we have a renewal of Parliament at each electoral cycle, the records of the Parliament remains the records of the Parliament. And so all I was inquiring about when I asked about the minutes is so that I can advise myself, being here for the first time since the committee's meeting, as to the last set of matters that the committee dealt with. That's all.
So, Member Jackson, I had done the same because it would be the first time that I'm chairing the committee. The minutes of the previous meeting would not relate to the current meeting, in that the report from the committee would have sealed the discussions and deliberations at that time. But I asked because I was just interested in reading. So what I will also do is have the Parliament take a look at reports from committees as another place to search, so that we can find the reports and, if not, get some details as to what would have been the minutes and what would have been discussed at the time, just for edification.
On this, Madam Chair. And in the search being done, we'll just provide a copy of the last report that was submitted from the committee that last met.
So, Chair, the matter being not a contentious one, it shouldn't detain us too much.
No, I just wanted to do some circulation because we didn't have adequate copies. This was a
Chair,
map.
Just for good order, if the member is requesting that a set of minutes from a previous committee be made available to us for a future date, that can be entertained. But insofar as this...
Yeah, that was done by the National Land Agency, and it shows the toll road. That's the boundary of the parish. And this one is the one that's in the bill, but that one is not blown up, and it's in black and white and hard to be read. And this is what went to be in the bill. And it's clearer than what you have there.
Yes, you're reiterating what I said, Member Warmington, that it's clearer, and we're sending both the unclear copy and the clearer copy, so that there is no challenge.
And my understanding is from what is in the Act that affects 3 constituencies.
Member Warmington, I do not want to have any
Yes,
understanding
yes.
or go down that road. Our job is to pass the bill, the act,
there a reason why I said
along
that,
with,
you know?
no, Member Warmington, I am not going there with you. I'm not going there with you.
I'm not going anywhere,
I
so
am
can
not
you be going with me?
there. I'm not going there, Member
wanted to
Robinson.
I just want clarity, Madam Chair, and we have the AG and the SG.
Please turn your mic off. Thank you.
All right, he has. Madam Chairman, I would go further than that, you know, than just to... Madam Chairman, I'll go further than that, you know, to pass the act and the boundaries to Electoral Commission for them to do. I think we should add on that, to that recommendation to them, that this be included in the voters list coming in May. They be considered as part of that voters list in May. Until that is done, this is of no use. So we should add that to the recommendation. So I'm asking for amendment to what you just said to add that to it.
Chairman, this particular...
Member Warmington, turn your mic off, please.
Sorry.
This particular sitting of the committee is deliberating on a matter that is unprecedented in our history, in fact, in recent. Certainly, we've never had a situation where a new parish has been established, certainly in my lifetime, and certainly in my 38 years in this honorable house. Therefore, there's no precedent. And the Parliament having passed the bill and the act having now been in a position to be fully implemented, we have one responsibility, and that is to forward the act to the relevant AOJ who has that responsibility and to whom we have arrogated the right to deal with boundaries and delegated in order for us at a later date to approve. And that the simple matter, therefore, is for us to do so and to offer them a timeline to enable them to complete in reasonable time so we can deal with the matter appropriately. May it please you.
Very good. What we have here is an undertaking by the minister to ensure that the constitutional process is followed. There's no injunction preventing anything, and it would probably a little bit eccentric, perhaps, for a court to want to give that type of injunction for a little longer on time. But the minister's undertaking to the court is that before he exercises the power given to him by the statute, he will ensure that the constitutional requirements are carried out. It might be useful to say that this function of determining constituencies, or the number of them, and the boundary of them resides in your parliament. It doesn't reside in anybody else. I know we're all very proud of the Electoral Commission, and we attribute to them all sorts of responsibilities. But the Commission's responsibility is just to advise first this committee, and this committee will then recommend to Parliament. So, yeah, so the function, I make the point that you're deferring so often to the Electoral Commission, but you defer to it to advise you, and you will accept or reject the advice it gives. The Parliament makes the decision as to what the boundaries are for.
I just want to follow up with the AG. I fully appreciate the latter point you made regarding the authority of the ECJ vis-a-vis the Committee of Parliament and the full Parliament. I just want to clarify about this lifting of injunction, that there was no injunction to be lifted because it had expired. And what happened, as you said, is that the court issued an order requiring the unconditional or unequivocal compliance.
the language of the thing. It's a consent order. The parties agreed to it.
No, I'm
And
clear
the
now.
consent order is the minister has a power under the statute to designate the date the statute takes effect. And he has undertaken not to designate a date until he ensures that the constitutional process takes place.
Okay.
Which means,
Quite clear.
which means that this committee must make its recommendation as to how many
I'm
constituencies
clear.
it needs and how many.
Clear.
And will advise the appropriate office, the minister in charge of the elections, and of course, advise.
AG, I
Parliament
missed
that-
this committee must make. Could you
Sorry,
repeat?
I'm saying this committee has a responsibility to advise on the numbers and on the boundaries of the constitution. It is its decision. No other body has that. In doing so, it acts on advice. It acts on advice of obviously its members. It acts on advice of the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission function is to advise you, and then you accept or reject it. And this committee, of course, will make a recommendation to its parliament, which may or not accept what you say. Parliament can change the recommendation you make.
Thank you very much, AG. So I will now put it to the vote that we pass the information. I do not take Member Warmington's point that, Member Warmington, please, that we insist on certain considerations. However, I would want us to incorporate in our vote so that timelines are important and set, that they return to us by May 31st, an indication of what they've decided and exactly what they're doing. So as a parliament, we are informed and we move forward from there. So we would ask that the ECJ return to us by May 31st. Let me go over. We will submit a copy of the court ruling. We will submit the copies of the administrative boundary that would have been attached to the act, both the not so clear copy and a clear copy, and the Portmore and Environs document. Members, I'm hearing a lot of talking. I'm moving first to vote. Please, no, I am putting it to a vote.
Thank you.
Member
Hilton.
Member Hilton, I am just reiterating, we are forwarding the ruling of the court. That's what we're forwarding. We're forwarding a copy of what would have been attached to the act and the act from Parliament. We are forwarding a copy that is a little clearer in terms of color of the exact document. And the only thing I've added to what I've been reiterating is taking into consideration the comment of Member Warmington in terms of getting a feel for time, not to insist on his statement, I won't even repeat it, but to ask that time be considered, and it is not just, and it is not languishing forever, that they return to us by the 31st of May with an indication with where they are, what is the final.
With an update.
With an update. On or before the 31st. So we're just setting a timeline to say, look, by the 31st of May, they would have come back to us at the very latest. Members, I'm asking you to now put it to a vote. Members, aye. Member Hilton, aye. Member Fitzjackson, Robinson, Member Davis, Member Davis, Member Warmington, Member Warmington, Member Warmington, Member Warmington. On or before, so it allows. Members, so on or before May 31st, it can come in a week. It can come May 31st. Members, by unanimous support, we will proceed with passing the required and relevant information onto the ECJ for their consideration and advice. Members, I agree with Member Bartlett, our House Leader in Parliament, that it is indeed an unprecedented time, and it feels wonderful to be a part of the House of Parliament when these types of amendments, changes in our landscape, our legislative landscape, takes place, to be here when we are on the cusp of coming to having a 15th parish named in Jamaica.